One of the first things that I do when I start working on a code base, whether it's an existing project or something I'm starting from scratch, is I spin up a brainstorming agent. And the brainstorming agent's job is to be a virtual colleague that I can talk to and learn from. And I'll talk to the colleague and I'll say, this is what I need to build. Here's some things that some ideas I have about how I think it should be built. And what do you think about that? And then this agent, meanwhile, is configured such that it is an expert on the code base. It's an expert on the code base's technology stack. It's an expert on the business problem that you're trying to solve. And consequently, its information, its responses to you are really on target. And they help you drive to not only like a theoretically good solution, but one that's actually really relevant to what you're doing. So these brainstorming agents are wicked powerful like that. I love working with them. They're very low stakes because one of the things that's cardinal rule about a brainstorming agent is that it doesn't write any code, right? It's just about ideas. What it will write are summaries of conversations. So like you'll see there's like a brainstorming folder with documents, and it will write there and create those for you. And then those documents become input to more specialist agents later on in the development lifecycle, like an architecture agent or a developer agent or a testing agent. These guys will all use sort of the output from that to inform how they create their more formal role-specific outputs and that kind of thing. So what I'm going to do is I've been working with a brainstorming agent for the last day or two on the portfolio operating system. So if you don't know me, my name is Paul. I am building what I'm calling a portfolio operating system to help active retail traders manage their portfolios. I'm building it in public, and you're going to see me a little bit of that right now. And I'm making it available for free via GitHub, and you can see the GitHub link in the channel description. So let's have a look at what I did. So if you haven't created a custom agent before, one of the ways that you can get at it, and there's a lot of ways, but the way I've been doing it lately is I just go to this open an agents thing in VS Code. So I'm a VS Code guy and a Microsoft Copilot guy. So if you're using Claude or others, there's other options, but this is how I'm doing it. And you can see down here, I've created for myself a custom agent. So I'm going to pull him up, and here he is. I have my brainstorming agent. And if I click on this, you can see that I gave it a name, a description, gave it access to some tools. And this one right here, Context 7, I'm not going to go into details, or I'll just say that it is an MCP server that has access to the latest documentation for major packages like React, like a lot of Azure stuff, pretty much anything like Vite, like Tailwind. So you want to always leverage this guy because it will help your agents do a better job working with the tech stack that you chose to use. But so we gave it a name description tools, and then we gave it kind of a job description. I'm going to refine this job description as the project becomes more mature. Right now, all it's doing is helping me think through a problem because I actually haven't made up my mind yet about the tech stack. But once I do, I'm going to go ahead and say, hey, you're working in the context of a tech stack with certain things, in this case, React and TypeScript and Fastify. So you'll see how that evolves over the course of the following videos. So that's the brainstorming agent. And how does it work? So what I have done is I've got a conversation right here that I started, and I'm just going to go to the top and show a few highlights. So I started off where I don't have anything yet. All I have in this project, if we look over here, is a README file, a license file, and really that's it. I don't have anything else yet, and a git ignore. So what I need to do is do that initial scaffolding. So I said, all right, I want this to be a mono repo. I already know I want a mono repo, and I want to use the latest version of React, Node, and TypeScript, etc. And so it said, oh, great. All right, let me help you do that. And it actually started to go down the path of, I could tell that it wanted to actually start writing some code for me, wanted to actually do the scaffolding. I don't want this guy to do the scaffolding, so I said, let's discuss these things in detail before you start generating anything. So that's one of the important techniques that you can have with these, is that you can interrupt these agents. You can't quite tell from this, but he was about to ask me a series of questions, and when I answered the last question, the agent was going to go running off to the races and start doing a bunch of scaffolding, and I didn't want it to. Part of that is because I didn't actually give it enough, I wasn't restrictive enough in what I told it was allowed to do, and I'll fix that in the future iteration of the agent. So we went into this thing and he kind of summarized and told me, okay, these are the key decisions we need to make. And you can see like it's saying, all right, well, we have options. We could use NPM, we could use PNPM, some of these other ones I've never heard of, a little bit of a structure about what we want to do. All kind of, if you've been doing this for a while, these are all really obvious and common. Yeah, so that's what we went. And then he started to ask me some additional questions around the back end. One of the things that I wanted to get into, he started referencing things like PNPM. I don't actually have never worked with PNPM. I'm familiar with, I know it's a thing that's out there, but I haven't ever actually used it. So one of the great things and well, the role of this brainstorming agent is to help me become better. And so I just asked it, like, what the heck is PNPM anyway, and why would I use it? And so it did that. It gave me this nice little table. And based on what it's saying, I feel like, okay, let's go ahead and use PNPM. I'm kind of easily influenced, especially when it comes to learning some new tech. So let's go that path. And we had a big long discussion also around being SaaS ready. The idea here is that I hope that the primary users are people who just sort of download this thing from GitHub and just run it. But I think there might be people who can't do that. It's going to be too much of a technical hurdle. So we'll give them a SaaS offering. They'll have to pay something for it to defer costs, but that's who knows. So that means that we're going to have multi-tenancy, and then we ended up in this really long discussion around multi-tenancy. And what I'll do is I'm going to probably just make this transcript available if I can in the GitHub repo so you can have a look at it yourself. But you can see in the evolution of this conversation, what I did is I just went through and asked a lot of questions, gave it a lot of my initial thoughts. I was influenced by its responses. I asked it follow-up questions. And ultimately what we were driving towards was a document in this brainstorming folder, and he called it architecture, which is a little too heavy of a word for this because it's architecture brainstorming, so that's fine. And you can see where we got. We're going to do a hybrid SaaS. We have our tech stack, including specific version numbers, which is pretty nice. We have some notes about how these things are going to hang together and why, like a little bit of a justification for why we're doing it. A monorepo structure, some deployment notes about how this is going to be managed by people, how we're going to do development, people are going to get to the cloud, etc. We ended up having a long discussion around authentication, more than I really wanted, but probably valuable. So that's actually a great thing about this brainstorming process is that I just sort of wanted to wave my hand and say, oh yeah, we'll get to that. That'll be fine. But it actually sort of hammered home for me the importance of taking it a little bit more seriously up front because it'll never be easier than it will be right now. That kind of thing. We got into database strategy and so on. So this is all available in the repo, and you can have a look at it and see for yourself. So that's what I wanted to cover here. So the idea is we've got a brainstorming agent. Brainstorming agent's job is to help you arrive at a decision. In the course of that decision or that discussion, you're going to learn some new stuff. You're going to have your own ideas. You'll be influenced by the agent, and the agent will be influenced by you. You're not trying to write code yet. You're teeing yourself up so that when you do get ready to write code, you've done this careful, methodical process of arriving at the most important decision, so that when the coding agents need to start doing their work, they have a really thoughtful basis for doing that work, not just sort of off the cuff, like, quick thoughts that you might have while you're doing stuff. You'll have already thought it through. You have a great foundation, and that's it. So I hope you liked this video. If you did, give it a like and subscribe. And in the next video, I'm going to actually go ahead and finish scaffolding this out. And I will probably be showing an actual working app where you can log in and see your name on the screen. And this is all teeing it up for the journaling feature that I discussed in a previous video as well, and you can find that in the channel. So thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.